All right, Shalom elect. This is Dr. Yehoshua Ben Ephraim. Today's date is April 11th, 2021. I'm not sure if I'm going to upload this video today or tomorrow, but this is the day I'm recording it, at least. So, I haven't really decided. But either way, yeah, this presentation, before I even really get into what inspired it, Adam, the first man. If you're a creationist and you believe that Adam existed, and then he had a wife by the name of Eve, and that's where civilization started. If you're a creationist, and we'll get into that as well in a minute. I'm definitely a creationist, but not in a hardcore sense. But from the standpoint that I believe that yes, there's a God. Yes, he created Adam. He caused the sleep to come upon Adam and created a woman from his rib called Eve. Yeah, that whole deal. But Adam existed, and I said she had a Y DNA haplotype as well. And obviously his Y DNA haplotype was A. Makes sense, right? He was Adam. He was the first man. A is the first letter of the alphabet. So it all makes sense. It works out, right? So, and I got to say this before I even really get any deeper. One thing about if you're a believer, and the Bible speaks of this, it says God will take the foolish things to confound the wise. Everything is not going to make sense at all. You can try to predate stuff. You can carbon date all this stuff. Listen, we're not going to get everything. We're just not. The simple fact that civilization started out with one man, one woman, and we have all these different races of people speaking all these different languages and all these different tongues. That should tell you something. No human being could do that. Okay, that in itself is supernatural. Like, think about this. And we're not even getting into the fact that, okay, if Adam and Eve existed and there was a flood, wouldn't that mean all the children or the people that came from Adam and Eve were killed, and then Ham, Shem, and Japheth were responsible for repopulating the world? See, that's another question, right? We have all these questions. I believe the Most High allows us to answer some, to kind of quench our thirst, if you will, and then there are some things that we will never know. It will never make sense. But I tell you one thing: anytime a being, only a man much powerful and much higher than us, can take two babies in a womb, as the Most High did with Rebecca, and create two separate nations, meaning two separate Y DNA haplotypes, when he did just that with Jacob and Esau. Only the Most High. I mean, if you put everything together, what I just said, think about that. I mean, that in itself is so beyond the realm of understanding. I mean, we can't fathom God. We think we can, but we really can't fathom the power of God. And it has to be someone that's much higher than we are in order for these things to have happened. And I say I'm not a hardcore creationist, meaning that I don't get into when the earth was created and dinosaurs, and you're saying dinosaurs never exist. All this stuff that really means nothing to us. I mean, I don't get into all that, but just I'm a creationist from the standpoint that yes, I believe that creation or civilization was started with a man named Adam, and he had haplotype A, and we'll get into that. Also, that in that picture. I don't know why, but that young man in the center with the green shirt, it just dropped in my spirit that he looks more or almost exactly like what Adam actually looked like. I don't know why, but it just dropped in my spirit that young man in the center of that picture, he's more sort of prototype of Adam. But there are people walking this earth that carry the Haplogroup A, which is directly from Adam. So clearly his descendants were not wiped out because they exist. Now, when I'm taking into consideration, now they don't exist in abundance per se, but they're definitely walking around. They exist. So clearly all of Adam's descendants were not wiped out, which again would probably spark some more questions, right, about the the flood and the end of the world, quote unquote, all this kind of stuff. But either way, this is who scientists say is the prototype for what Adam more than likely looked like, which if you look at the young man that I said dropped my spirit, who looked more like the prototype of Adam, is not too far off. But I think their version of Adam looks more Neanderthalish, and it kind of fits in that kind of whole, evolution of man thing. Whereas, he looks more like a caveman almost. But either way, this is what scientists say is the prototype. Now, I have a healthy respect for science. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'm a creationist, right? So I have faith and I have belief. No disrespect to science. But they say this is Adam. So either way, my opinion and my view is that Adam existed, and as such, he fell under Haplogroup A. Now, that being said, the thing that threw me off was that they say that, well, okay, Haplogroup A and Haplogroup BT represented the lineages of Y chromosomal Adam himself and one of his sons. So my thing is, okay, well that's a head scratcher, right? Well, why would his son have a BT whereas Adam was clearly A, and I'm assuming we'll get into the subclades of A in I believe in the next slide, presentation. I'm not presentation, but the next slide we'll get into the subclades, but why would one of his sons be BT, whereas clearly his son should have been A as well from a logical standpoint, right? But again, remember I said, nothing's going to really make sense. So clearly, if that was the case, if one of Adam's sons, now we don't know this 100% for sure, but we're just going off information that we have, right? And if they're saying that one of Adam's sons was BT, which Haplogroup BT, I don't even know if it's in existence anywhere, right? But either way, if one of his sons was BT, so clearly the Most High, there was a separation of some type. So there was a lot of separation going on between the nations and the blood and the haplotypes. If one of Adam's sons was haplogroup was switched off into Haplogroup BT, because he should have been what Adam was. So clearly what the Most High did with Rebecca with respect to Jacob and Esau, went on a lot. And if you think about it, it makes sense. That had to have went on a lot for real, because with all these different races, with all these different haplotypes that came from three men, clearly there was a lot of separations and a lot of that going on to get the different races we have now. So here it says Haplogroup A, roughly 270,000 years. Now let me tell you why that's significant, and actually it's what actually inspired this presentation in me. There's a man in South Carolina who is Haplogroup A, and his haplogroup, they say, is over 340,000 years old. So that blows this out of the water. So if that man's haplogroup was 340,000 years old, supposedly, that means he, by what they're telling us, he existed before Adam. Or so I mean, it's crazy. I know it's crazy, but it's all interesting. It's intriguing, and so we're dealing with it. But anyway, the difference, if we scroll down a little bit, the different subclades, and this is why genetics is so fascinating, man. I mean, because when you put it involved in with the Bible and scripture, really, it's just fascinating to me. So the subclades of different subclades of A are A00A, A00B, A00C, A0A1, A1A, A1B, A1B1, and there goes the BT. So those are the subclades of A. So either way you slice it, either one of those subclades of A, or we'd have to even say BT if that was one of his sons, they are more directly related actually to Adam before any other separations went on. Because remember, the Bible said that Enoch was actually seventh from Adam. So Enoch could have very well have been haplogroup A as well. Something to think about. If he was seventh from Adam. So that means he wasn't that far away from. So from that standpoint, any of those subgroups will be directly related, and it kind of lines up with the in search of the children of Adam. So I think the next presentation we'll deal with the next slide. I keep saying presentation. The next slide we'll deal with Mr. Perry, the man I was telling about from South Carolina. We'll go into his story, and then we'll kind of double back. So science has already taken to calling the man whose name is actually Albert Perry the father of all men, and as the article states, he's 340,000 years old. And so this is his story. This is Albert Perry carried a secret in his DNA, a Y chromosome so distinctive that it reveals new information about the origin of our species. It shows that the last common male ancestor down the paternal line of our species is over twice as old as we thought. One possible explanation is that hundreds of thousands of years ago, modern and archaic humans in Central Africa interbred, adding to known examples of interbreeding with Neanderthals in the Middle East and with enigmatic Denisovans somewhere in Southeast Asia. Perry, recently deceased, was an African American who lived in South Carolina, my home state. A few years ago, one of his female relatives submitted a sample of his DNA to a company called Family Tree DNA. Ironic. For genealogical analysis. The same DNA company that I started this whole E1B1A thing with back in 2015. It says geneticists can use such samples to work out how we are related to one another. Hundreds of thousands of people have now had their DNA tested. Actually, it's more than that now. And I'll let you guys just kind of, pause, and I don't want to read the whole thing. But this is the second slide to that story. It says Michael Hammer, a geneticist at the University of Arizona in Tucson, heard about Perry's unusual Y chromosome and did some further testing. His team's research revealed something extraordinary. It says Perry did not descend from the genetic Adam. Yeah. In fact, they say his Y chromosome was so distinct that his male lineage probably separated from all others about 338,000 years ago. I tell you, the hardcore creationists will have a lot to say about that one. It says the Y chromosome tree is much older than we thought, says Chris Tyler Smith at the Wellcome Trust Sanger Institute in Hengsten, UK, who's not involved in the study. He says further work will be needed to confirm exactly how much older. It's a cool discovery, says John Wilkins of the Ronan Institute in Montclair, New Jersey. We geneticists have been looking at Y chromosomes about as long as we've been looking at anything. Changing where the root of the Y chromosome tree is at this point, extremely surprising. Gee, you think? And it says older than humanity. The first anatomically modern human fossils date back only 195,000 years. So Perry's Y chromosome lineage split from the rest of humanity long before our species appeared. Now you guys can, like I said, you could read the rest of the article, but see, that's what I'm talking about. See, these are the kind of things that I think the Most High does. He does this on purpose. He said he will take the foolish things to confound the wise. So now, how if Adam was the first man, how are they trying to sell that Mr. Perry existed before Adam? You see what I'm saying? So I mean, at the very least, it's very interesting. Makes great conversation. But come on, really? So anyway. Back to the premise of the presentation. Haplogroup A and the different subclades. These people right here you're looking at are direct descendants of the man we know as Adam. And there they go. All right. Look at that, man. That's just fascinating to me. Like, I mean, wow. Haplogroup A, the descendants, the children of Adam. All right. And so, like I said, sometimes these things they elicit more questions than answers. But I mean, I think to me personally, that's what makes it, all the more intriguing, right? Genetics and and the evolution of man, quote unquote, or the start of man, the civilization of man. One thing is definitely for sure: scientists have now, finally had to come to the conclusion that no matter what you might think, civilization as we know it started in Africa. Okay, there's no denying that. Scientists, for a long time they tried to, tap dance over that, but they can't anymore. Civilization started in Africa. So it says DNA testing says our DNA is over 340,000 years old. So what does Genesis say? It says DNA evidence has revealed that the oldest known common male ancestor is 340,000 years old, more than twice as old as previous estimates. New Scientist reports that the sample comes from a recently deceased man named Albert Perry. After the African-American South Carolina man died, one of his relatives submitted a sample of his DNA to a company called Family Tree DNA. Scroll down a little bit. It says Perry did not descend from the genetic Adam. In fact, his Y chromosome was so distinct that his male lineage probably separated from all others about 330,000 years ago. And again, how could we even process that? If Adam was the first man, how is it he come on, man, like, he didn't descend from Adam, so where did he come from? Unless Adam's DNA as we know it is about as old as Mr. Perry's. See, because science is saying that Adam's DNA is about 200-something thousand years old. That's not a proven fact. That's not a known fact, right? So they might be confounded on that. So because they're putting this man out there. So if this man's DNA is 340,000 years old, he descended from someone. He didn't just appear, right? So I think that's something to think about. Maybe science, they have their estimation wrong, right? And that's very possible, right? Look at Genesis. Start off, it says Genesis 1:27 says God created man in his image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them, right? Genesis 2:7 says, and the Lord God formed man of dust from the ground, and he breathed into his nostrils the soul of life, and became a living soul. So nowhere in Torah does it say that the Most High created someone before Adam. Adam was the first man. As a creationist, it starts there. So I stand on that. I'm not sure exactly why this man's he was haplogroup A though. So and that's another question. So if he's haplogroup A and his Y DNA haplotype is 340,000 years old, and Adam's haplogroup A, there's a discrepancy. Someone's off, because there's no way this man's from A and he's not from Adam. It just doesn't. It defies logic. It's just no way. There's no way. So I would really like to see this man, pictures of this man, pictures of his family, his descendants, because that is really intriguing. But there's no way anyone's going to get me to believe that this man did not descend from Adam. I think science got it wrong. I think science has Adam's the age of Adam's Y DNA pegged wrong. That's what I personally think. Because it's just, and I don't even want to say logic, because we're not really about logic, but it doesn't make sense. If this man is haplogroup A, Adam was haplogroup A, which makes sense because he was the first man. So if Adam was haplogroup A and he was the first man, quite naturally that Mr. Perry descended from Adam. So instead of saying he's the father of all humans, all this, and come on, man, he came from Adam, but science has to get it right, because I believe that's where the conflict, comes in at, right? Because we know that, well, at least the creationists, from our standpoint, you're not going to get us to not believe that Adam wasn't the first man, because he was. We start talking about the Neanderthals and the caveman and all that kind of stuff. Listen, I told you guys at the start of this presentation, I don't really get into all that like that. I accept that Adam was the first man. I accept that we have all these different races. I accept that there was a flood and Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. I accept all of that and everything that comes with it. I believe that the earth probably existed long before Adam or before Adam. Yeah, I do. But that's about as far as I'm willing to go, though. I don't really care. Like, It has no bearing on my salvation or our salvation. You know, we need to worry about being the children of the covenant. That's what we need to worry about. We need to worry about getting back to that. We're not Haplogroup A. I mean, yeah, they say that Adam was the first man, and somehow, some way, we all came from him, but we are not directly from Adam. And that's one of the things that intrigued me about this presentation. We're Haplogroup E. I mean, we're a couple spots removed from A. But I mean, they say that all humanity in some way kind of came from him, but yeah, we're not directly descended from him. We're not Haplogroup A. So that's what intrigued me. I wanted to find out, you know, I wanted to find some of his ancestors or people that actually descended from Adam, the first man, which I thought was like, wow, you know, mind-boggling. So that's what this presentation was about. So, you know, I didn't do it to kind of inject anything or change anyone's mind about anything. I'm still a creationist. I'm still a believer in the Most High, the creator of the heavens and the earth. Adam and Eve was the first man and woman. That's not going to change. But I just thought it was an interesting and intriguing video, and hope you all, you know, enjoyed it at the very least, and it was entertaining, and you know, or you got something from it, hopefully. All right. So until next presentation, this is Dr. Ephraim saying Ahaya by Yeshua HaMashiach, Baruch Atah Adonai. Shalom.